It has been a long and difficult month for all of us, every single one of us, in every home, in every part of the country. We've been going through deep anxiety that it is impossible to put in words. We've missed a lot of birthdays, we missed a lot of anniversaries, we missed a lot of festivals, and we are probably going to have to continue missing them, at least to the point of how one normally would have marked them. Ramzan starts tomorrow. In the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which hosts Mecca and Medina, they've issued a notification saying that while it is heartbreaking for them, Mecca and Medina will remain shut, the Kaaba will remain shut, and people are being asked to stay at home and do the fasting and all other religious rites at home. That is Saudi Arabia, the home of Mecca and Medina. Okay? The Prophet Muhammad was born in Mecca, then went to live in Medina, the holiest sites or two of the holiest sites of Islam, where a total lockdown continues. I repeat, in the two holiest sites of Islam, a total lockdown continues. They will remain closed. Complete contrast to Pakistan, where the Wahhabi Islamic groups have ensured that the completely useless Pakistani government can have no say, and they intend to reopen all their mosques tomorrow. Most of them in Pakistan will reopen tomorrow. Pakistan, which is bankrupt, is currently relying on a World Bank coronavirus loan, IMF loan, to just survive the next month or so. At this point of time, this is how Pakistan is going to be behaving. And the irony amid all of this is, while this is going on, there are still people in the OIC, and guess who those people are? Pakistan, Malaysia, Turkey, who want to target India and are accusing India of Islamophobia. This happened, and India has, of course, responded back. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, on the night before Ramzan begins, and global India bashing is resurfacing its head, what do we do? Should we stand up for ourselves? And if we are to stand up for ourselves, what role must the Muslim community in India of 200 million people must do to stand up for India? Straightforward question. Let's ask and answer it. Joining us on the telecast, I have Sumit Peer. Deshratan Nigam is also joining us on the broadcast. And I also have the opportunity to bring into the broadcast Shiva Aslam. She is now a senior member of this IMPAR panel, which has been set up yesterday, and we interviewed some of the members yesterday. It's a good effort, at least trying to get people who think of rational thought into conversations like this. Let me quickly begin with Deshratan Nigam. Deshratan Nigam, now we know who are the people in the OIC that try to get these letters sent off. They actually don't mean much, and we respond to them. We have a better association with the real movers and shakers in the OIC, Saudi Arabia including. Deshratan Nigam, Saudi Arabia is behaving for the motherland of Wahhabism in the world. The root source of Wahhabi ideology is ironically behaving very, very carefully, cautiously and responsibly. Even in Ramzan, they intend to continue to keep Makkah and Medina closed because they understand the risks of opening it to fellow Muslims. Pakistan is behaving exactly the opposite, sir. Their mosques are going to open tomorrow.
Saudi Arabia's decision is completely rational, logical, and justifies everything what the crisis today is. And on the other hand, you have Pakistan. I'm rather shocked and surprised the kind of behavior that they have. It appears that there is no government out there to enforce the law. The army seems to be have sidestepped, and the civilian government does not seem to be existing out there. and they are endangering themselves. It's not that they would be endangering anybody else. That mosque opening, collective namaz group is a short recipe of a disaster and COVID spread. And therefore, Pakistan, well, I mean,
Okay, I just want to put on our screens because the reason I pointed this out several times, Deshat and Nigam, was what you're seeing on our screens, how Pakistan introduced coronavirus to large parts of the Muslim world. The first reported cases in Palestine, right? And the Arab world has been fighting Israel over Palestine for God knows how long. 1,000-year crusade and jihad war has been going over on Jerusalem for 1,000 years, right? And the first infections imported into the Gaza Strip were Tablighi members who came from Lahore, Pakistan, because there are 2.5 lakh Tablighis. We thought we had a problem in Delhi. No, that was 2.5 lakh thousand people. Now Pakistan clearly, Deshat Nigam, learnt no lessons from that. Mr. Nigam, you can hear me, sir? Okay, I think I've lost that audio connection with Mr. Nigam. Can you hear me, sir, now? I think we lost you for a minute.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, carry on. Mr. Nigam. Do I have that audio line or not?
See, Malaysia,
yeah, go ahead, sir, we can hear you now.
Oh, this is not the first time, Rishabh, that they have not learned the lessons. Malaysia had the... Yes, I can. And let me tell you, Pakistan... Yes?
Okay, we are having obviously a connection issue with Mr. Nigam. I'll just get that corrected. Let me rope in Sumit Peer into this conversation. Sumit Peer, with Ramzan tomorrow, Saudi Arabia keeps everything closed, responsible and rational decision. Pakistan decides to open everything, insane decision.
Correct.
And India gets bashed for being Islamophobic.
Right. I think, Rishabh, what we see right now is there is a group of people who are trying very hard to somehow, build this divide between India, Hindus and Muslims in this country. I mean, when Makkah is closed, it's logical for us to close the mosque. And I don't think what is the problem, where does this Islamophobia and all come into place? This virus has no religion, this spares nobody. 150 people of the royal Saudi family are infected. All over the world the mosques are closed. What is Islamophobic in that? This is a necessary precaution. Rishabh, let me bring your attention to the fact, few days back we had Navratris, 10 days of celebration. All the temples were closed. Kashi Vishwanath is closed. We have Sri Balaji closed. Amarnath Yatra is cancelled. When we do not say Hindu phobia or anything, where does this Muslim, Islamophobia come in? And what is the loci of these, so-called these groups from Saudi Arabia to talk of Islamophobia? What is the position of minorities in their country? There, Rishabh, you cannot carry, I cannot wear my Rudraksh and go to Saudi Arabia. I cannot have a Satyanarayan puja at my home in Saudi Arabia. And I don't know the position of dead bodies. There was a time, if a non-Muslim dies, the body had to be carried back to India.
Okay.
Now, these are the people who are talking to us about Islamophobia. These are the people who are teaching secularism to us. What is their loci?
Okay, so
what
let me take the opportunity. Okay, so just stay with me. Let me get Ms. Shiba Aslam into this conversation. Ms. Shiba Aslam, now, as I pointed out, a notification has come in Saudi Arabia that, they are heartbroken, but Makkah Medina will remain shut during the period of Ramzan. They've requested everybody to stay at home. We are, of course, requesting the same thing, and that's been a consistent thing for the past month or so. Pakistan is operating in a completely opposite way, sir. Ma'am, they intend to open most of their mosques tomorrow. Now, the problem I have is, well, Pakistanis are free to do what they want. The problem I have is that a lot of people in this country see what Pakistan is doing, okay, and the irresponsible way it behaves and the problems it creates, and then equates it with Muslims here in India. Now, how do we draw the distinction, ma'am?
First of all, Ramzan Mubarak to you and all your viewers. I would like to say that Indian Muslims are no cave people. We live in this world, we understand what is happening around, and what is good for the rest of the society is good for us also. We don't need a separate advisory to understand that COVID is bad and we have to maintain distancing. We have to keep all the places of community get together closed, whether it is a religious place or it is a recreational place or it is an entertainment center. So we don't need any separate advisory for the Muslims of India to understand. We understand science and we understand how dangerous COVID is. So whatever Pakistan is doing, I think it is a irony that the clergy, the religious clergy is having a sway over the rationality in that society. But I don't want to go deep into that because it is their matter and they know how to deal with it. And if they don't deal with it, they will be the sufferers. But as far as India is concerned and Indian Muslims are concerned, we are abiding by the general advisory that we have to keep our mosques, our dargahs, all these places shut down strictly. No relaxation.
Ma'am, it's an opportunity to ask a question. And the reason I'm asking this is because these are the things that require to be addressed. And this is a very real problem that exists in the country right now. And the problem is this, ma'am. I'll describe it to you and then you address it the best way that you can. How many people in this country are now looking at Pakistan? The reason Pakistan is important is because they look at Pakistan and say, look, mosque khol diye na sare. And then they think that, look, if in India there is a Muslim majority, same would have happened. These kind of conversations take place. How do we clarify the doubts that the Muslim ideology which has been taken over by certain kinds of people in Pakistan is not the same in India?
First of all, I am living in Old Delhi Jama Masjid area, and there is no such insistence from the community. I want to know who are these people who are peddling this misconception that because Pakistan is doing something, we can also do it. Number one. Number two, that in India we are going by the directives of the government, local government, that is Delhi government, and the central government. And anything that is happening in Saudi Arabia even, or in Pakistan or in any other Muslim country is not Islamic ideal type. Every community, Islamic community or Muslim community all over the world have their own issues, their own circumstances. So there is no ideal type that we have to follow from Pakistan or from anywhere else in the world. We are following the as per the conditions of the COVID situation here in India. And there are so many Muslim doctors and health workers who have been advising people not to venture out. Forget about namaz, forget about tarawih, forget about any religious congregation, not even for the sake of the small things that we of daily chores that we have to perform. So for us, Pakistan is not Islamic ideal type. We don't follow anything from Pakistan.
Okay, now here's the second problem, ma'am, and help me address it, because we have to take some bulls by their horns, right? We have to address it straight faced.
Okay.
The other question that's often raised, and I had the opportunity to speak a few months ago and had a similar conversation of trying to figure out what's the miscommunication that's happening. The other issue that is raised is, and I see this raised very often, that people ask, what is the one Islamic nation that one would want to live in? And they give the example of Saudi Arabia, where Saudi Arabia today, women driving a car is being considered a major achievement. We all know what happens in Iran. Examples are given of Malaysia, of Indonesia. Examples are given of the Taliban in Afghanistan. Thankfully, that's changed. And examples are given of Pakistan. So the problem is that when people are easily bought by this argument, that if there is not one single Islamic country which seems to be a progressive reformist country, how do we then, with a 200 million strong Indian Muslim community, address that problem?
See, every Muslim society is different from other one. So if you have a restriction on driving in Saudi Arabia, in Dubai, in Iran, you have female taxi drivers, female truck drivers. So it is not something that is uniform in every Muslim society. Within one country also, there are several types of Muslim societies. So there is no one example that we need to follow. Every society has its own problems. Like in India, we are not forced to wear burqa, right? But there was a problem of triple talaq that we have addressed. in this 21st century now. So there are specific problems to specific communities. As far as Indian Muslims are concerned, the best thing about Indian Muslim is that we have got this constitution and a state that enables us to enjoy our rights, our fundamental rights.
Thank you.
So I don't know about others, but for Malaysian, the Malaysian society must be the best. For Saudi, that must be the best.
No, and
Because
it's,
for the Indian Muslim, we are so much rooted in Indianness, in our Indian culture, that we don't need to look elsewhere.
Okay, one more question, ma'am, before I open Sumit Peer, and thank you for addressing this, because very, very important that these kind of topics are dealt with rationally.
Please ask.
The other issue is, ma'am, that at times, like, ma'am, actually our relationship with the Organization of Islamic Countries has improved. Saudi Arabia relationship has improved. Our relationship with other Islamic countries has improved, and they started to realize that India is a very large Muslim country with 200 million people who are of the Muslim faith in this country. So I'm glad that's happening globally. But the issue happens is, ma'am, under certain people like, Pakistan pressure or this pressure, when the OIC starts issuing these letters that India is an Islamic phobic country and this is happening and that's happening, how do we get right thinking Muslim people in this country to stand up for India?
Right thinking people, not only right thinking people, every Indian is standing up for India. Even those who feel that they have been wronged are standing for India, with India, because this is our country, this is our mitti, ये हमारी मिट्टी है और हम इसके अलावा किसी और तरफ देख नहीं सकते. So let us understand to think that it is a global world, just the way we were discussing Pakistan and Saudi Arab right here in this program. There are other people who might be discussing us also, because it is a global world. We cannot hide anything. Whatever is happening locally is global. In another 2 minutes, it becomes global. So we have to understand, we have to learn how to behave in public. We have to understand how to behave in social media. And we have to understand that one thing is that we have to improve ourselves. We have to better our justice delivery system, all the institutions that are there to address the grievances. And another thing is that we don't allow anybody to interfere in our internal matters.
Okay.
We have mechanisms in place that will take care of our
I have another.
grievances.
It's another tricky question, ma'am, because there are no easy ways of dealing with it, both as a question as an issue. How do we now draw the balance? And this is a problem that's occurring because I get these things sent to me all the time, that if you critique someone or have a problem with someone, and that person happens to be Muslim, it becomes an accusation of Islamophobia, that you are an Islamophobe. So there is a difference between critiquing the decision making of the Tablighi Jamaat Markaz leaders, for example, and there's a difference between equating them to all Muslims in India. So for the people who were not doing the equation part, were just critiquing the Tablighi Jamaat Markaz people, who are also being accused of Islamophobia, how do we draw that distinction that just because you critique someone and they happen to be Muslim, you don't get tagged as an Islamophobe?
I'm happy you asked this question. Even before this Markaz COVID incident happened, lot of Muslims were very, very critical about these organizations, and they wanted to know what's happening over there and what is their agenda, right? And how they brainwash people into something that that Maulana Saad could say, that even if you approach death, or even if death happens to you, it is better that it happens here in these four walls. So this is something very rigorous. We have been questioning such institutions, and we means the Muslims, the educated and forward-looking Muslims. Number one. Number two, I have so many friends in media, and I keep talking to them. The problem is, but certain news items which are not verified yet, they are on air, and then when they are substantiated with the proof, and they are proved to be false and fake, then the credibility of media is also gravely hurt. So it is a two-way process. Number one, you also verify. Number two, that you bring Muslims to do a very informed and nuanced critique of their own society. Because if you are just pointing fingers, then it becomes a very unqualified kind of a unnuanced.
I agree with you, which is what I'm trying to do,
So
and I've been trying to do this for
very difficult for us also,
for several weeks
because
and months. And I'm glad you guys are now trying to do this in a more cohesive manner. So it becomes my job becomes a lot easier. because what you're
Thank
saying is a
you.
breath of fresh air, because it just sounds logical and reasonable.
Thank you so much.
Sumit Peer, now this is the one X factor that's been missing, and this is the reason I'm having this conversation, just to point out a certain few things. That the home of the Prophet Muhammad, Makkah and Medina, are currently in lockdown. Pakistan, which has, let's face it, is not the home of the Prophet Muhammad, is opening up all its mosques under Islamist pressure. There's no doubt about it. And India gets attacked. So when India gets attacked, how do we create, and not only create but be very actively, proactively and be seen to create, Indian Muslims calling out other people who in the name of Islam do India bashing?
I think, Rishabh, there are a couple of points here. The first point is, after Indonesia, the second highest population of Muslims lives in India. It's a democratic country. Muslims have been presidents, at Deputy Chief of Army Staff. They have been pretty much everywhere in the Indian setup. So India does not discriminate on the basis of religion. It's an equal opportunity for all. The first thing we have to be very careful is there is a very, very small, a microscopic, maybe 20, 30, 40 people in the Muslim community who want to link everything to the community. There might be one incident, but they will try to, it's an attack on Islam because that's how unki dukaan waise chalti hai. So first we have to segregate them. Second thing, Rishabh, which is important, alternate leadership. Alternate leadership in the Muslim community has to come. Like ma'am is there are a lot of people who come on our debates. You and me do debates regularly. But if we could have got some of those nefarious characters, whom I am mentioning, the debate could have gone to a different tangent altogether.
Correct.
Because they come on TV, they shout, they make it a whole community problem and try and take it there.
No, they
don't
confirm.
let the reasonable,
They
logical,
simply
पढ़े
confirm
लिखे
the
लोगों को
worst
आगे
fear.
आना देना ही नहीं चाहते.
No, they simply
They-
confirm
they
the worst
want
fears.
this-
If you are at home and are
Yeah, they
feeling
confirm
troubled,
that is
I
how
would like
their
to think that
that's
most
how
of
their
us-
that's how their dukaan
that
runs.
most of us
That's
are
how their
not
dukaan
bigoted,
runs.
xenophobic people. But if somebody comes and sits on TV and confirms your worst fears, it becomes
Correct.
very,
I
very
mean-
complicated. So we have a decision to make to not get more of these people.
We
And
have
then
to-
there is a need, there is a vacuum and a need
Yes,
that needs to be
absolutely
filled
right,
by people
Rishabh.
who talk
Absolutely right.
sensibly, can raise a critique, can raise a problem, can have a problem and raise it, but raise it with sense of logic. So Sumit Peer,
Correct.
a definition, ma'am,
Can I come in?
I'm just coming to you, ma'am. Sumit Peer,
I said, Rishabh,
a
one-
definition now of, and I was having this debate just a few days ago, a definition of Indian Islamicness as different from Saudi Wahhabism or Tablighi Jamaatism or Deobandism also. How do we create that?
Rishabh, the first thing is we are not an Islamic theocracy. We are an equal opportunity country wherein every individual is equal in front of law for the opportunity, for the constitution, for everything. That differentiates us from Saudi Arabia and all that. Point number two, Tablighi is what they were doing there, 0.01% of the community. If we see them as a different sect or a cult of the community and separate them out, the community has nothing to do with them. Point number three, Deban is again 0.01% of the cult. Separate them out. The community has nothing to do with it, but it is the responsibility of the people like us, the media, to bring up the alternate leadership. As long as you keep it on mullahs and maulanas, who are mostly illiterate, they will come and do
No,
what they
we
are
need
good
the
at.
different
They
mullahs
will
and
come
maulanas,
bigatize, they will tell you all
because
the
we only
absurd
get,
logics,
I found
and
this
they will not.
that a
We
lot of
need
people,
literate
and
Muslims
let
to
me-
take it.
Let me address this with Shibaji. Shibaji, I found a lot of people, and because TV is different and it's not like we don't live in society, is that a lot of people are not understanding that they think, यार listen यार, हम किसी से झगड़ा नहीं करना चाहते हैं, या हमें अपना काम करने दो. They don't understand that the misrepresentation that's happening by them choosing to remain silent is causing a lot of damage. So how do we correct that as well, ma'am?
Indian Muslim society is going through a lot of churning because we are hard pressed against so many factors. We have internal critique, we have apologists also, and all sorts of factions are there. But the problem is that whenever the critique is done with the intention of bringing in improvement, reform, change, that helps. But when the critique is done for the sole purpose of bashing, that always backfires, and then people become very defensive.
Correct.
So I'm really happy that you are doing this very, very, positive debate on your channel today, and you are allowing us to speak out like this, because most of the time you see those people sitting and the bashing is going on from both the sides and justifying the wrongs of each of their own societies. We have gone into that kind of situation where we are just refusing to see what's wrong in our society. No society is perfect, and the best way to bring improvement is that I look into my society and try to improve.
Yes.
And we are doing that, and there are a lot of Muslims who are doing that. It is, the whole society is going through a churning process, and we have a sizable middle class professional people who are looking into the anomalies that are infecting us, that are creating problem within us. So we are the first sufferers of our problems.
Do us a great service. I was trying to have this conversation a few weeks ago. In fact, literally 4 or 5 days ago. And then I saw the notification about the empanelment of your group. So we had 3 people yesterday and have you today. Do us the favor, ma'am. It's very important that we be able to distinguish Indian Islamic society from all the other bad examples that unfortunately we are exposed to constantly. And the day we draw that distinction, this comparativeness that, look, if tomorrow Muslims become majority, they'll turn us into Pakistan. This comparativeness then will help dissipate. I'm running short of time. Quickly, last 10 seconds. Sumit P, then I need to take a break.
Rishabh, we in this country have to start with one mantra. We are Indian first. पहले हम हिंदुस्तानी, उसके बाद हम Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, whatever we are. Second thing, we have Muslims like Mr. APJ Abul Kalam, whom we are proud of. We have Muslims like Lieutenant Fayaz, and we have Muslims like Burhan Wani. We have to choose whom do we heroize, kisko hero banana. My hero is APJ Abul Kalam. My hero is Lieutenant Umar Fayaz. He's my brother, he's my hero, and I salute him. I salute him on the national TV. But if we go and eulogize Burhan Wani, that is what we are doing disservice to nation. If we get Shibaji, great, pleasure debating with her. If we get another person, Rishabh, whose name starts with S, you know the person who I am mentioning,
No, there
we
are
had a lot of
several
debates with
people.
this.
We
We are fighting, Rishabh. We are only shouting, fighting, and we are reaching nowhere.
I think the better lesson that we've learned is, and I've learned this, and I can do something to change it, and everybody else, Shibaji and needs to learn it, and the people she's working to learn it, that is much easier to do tamasha. Okay, it's much easier to have 2 people screaming at each other.
True.
Than to have an intelligent conversation. It's much more entertaining to watch tamasha than to listen to an intelligent conversation, which is a very difficult conversation. I've asked Shibaji very, very difficult questions, which are very real questions, which she's had to address. Ma'am, I'm desperately short of time, but okay, but take 30 seconds. I've already 5 minutes overshot. Go ahead. 30 seconds, ma'am.
Media is a very capital intensive game. Let us use it for the nation building, for positivity, for change. We have to fight this whole world, and we have to come up. So let us do not fall in this, TRP race or, one-upmanship. We have to build the nation, and let us keep this one motive.
No, by all means, ma'am, allow me my race, but allow me to win it with intelligence rather than nautanki. I think we can. Let's try at least.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.